Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going
Awesome.
today?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
All good, man. Thank you so much for giving me time on this call today. Wasn't expecting that at all, by the way.
Well, I'm happy to be able to do it.
Awesome,
Perfect.
man. So I went through the entire masterclass. I just have a few very targeted questions regarding my strategy. Okay,
Sure.
so I'll just get started straight away. So you mentioned two different ways of actually running ads in your masterclass. The first one was from a lead form straight to a Calendly. Okay,
Mhm,
and then for from a lead form to a landing page to a Calendly, right? This
mhm.
is for someone like me. This is just starting off running ads. Like I haven't ran ads before for my agency. Which
Mhm.
would you actually go down towards?
So here's the thing that you have to take into consideration. Both work. The question is, how does your mileage vary based off of what you're offering, right? And the
Mhm,
landscape across the board has changed rather significantly, especially over the last 6 months. So when you look at people's behaviors changing, you have to see where the change is coming from, right? So right now there's a lot of price sensitivity that you have to work with. There's a lot of people who don't want to put out their information because privacy is becoming more and more prevalent, or at least the desire for privacy is becoming more and more prevalent because people don't want hounded, they don't want bothered. During COVID, telemarketing went crazy, email marketing went crazy, e-com as a whole exploded because everybody was stuck at home, right? And over the course of that time, so many people feel like, they're like shooting fish in a barrel, the difference being that they're the fish. The second you hand out your contact information to any sort of service provider or you opt into a newsletter, anything like that, you feel like you're going to be inundated with emails and text messages and phone calls from call centers, the whole nine. So you have to look at what your offer is and think about, okay, if I know that there's already friction in the buying process, and I know that
mhm.
there is new friction with all customer bases, but maybe there's some specific to the one I'm going after as far as my ideal customer, client, what have you,
Mhm.
where do their friction points come into play? Right? Because maybe give me an example. What type of product or service are you trying to market right now?
So it's basically like a monthly retainer for running your ads, like AI lead gen, basically. And we have like an AI software that basically goes in, books for them, their appointments for them. And right now I'm targeting home service contracts, dental
Mhm.
clinics, and then med spas. I know it's like a scattergun approach, but like I've had good experiences with all of them. So I just want to
Mhm.
just pick down my niche, like let's say 2 months down the line, once I have really good experience with one specific niche, if that makes sense.
So the thing I would tell you is that with anything sales marketing right now, there's going to be just a lot of resistance in general. You need to have
Mhm,
fantastic case studies, testimonials. I mean, that's all in all, truly, in all honesty, the reason why I've become more active on YouTube. And I've been telling myself, this is the year I'm going to be on YouTube. This is the year I'm going to get big on YouTube. This is the year I'm going to be consistent on YouTube. And this year, albeit not consistent to the point I would like it to be yet, I have gone out of my way to invest a lot of time into getting that historical content that I have on standby or client testimonial videos or case studies that we send to prospects via cold email, whatever, and just putting it out there, right? So I would actually recommend you do the same thing. And the reason being is there's a lot of people looking for this stuff, but the economy and more so buyer behavior has become far more pay to play. They don't want to have to deal with people because they feel like someone's going to scam them. And the sad reality is people can always afford to get fucked for a little bit of money, right?
mhm,
If there is like a try out for like $49 for your first month, whenever you typically would charge like $497 or something like that, those are the types of offers that work well for this type of thing right now. And the reason being
mhm.
is it's little cost, high upside or high potential, and worst comes to worst, they lose 49 bucks, right? The difference is there's ad spend and all these other things. And that's really the single biggest issue that agency owners across the board are facing right now, myself included, is that, okay, our performance contracts, people feel like they're paying us too much. Okay, well then what happens? We make them an ass load of money and then they're like, we're just not going to pay this, or we want to renegotiate whatever we're, offering you for your performance, which is, it is what it is, right? You have to be able to move with the market. Otherwise, you lose the opportunity altogether. So, in a case like with what you're doing, I would focus on the markets that are so lead dependent that they have no choice but to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day on ads. And the reason that I say that is because if they are spending that volume on leads right now, they can certainly afford whatever you're offering, right? And if you
Mhm.
make it the nexus of their operation, and that's the thing that changes everything for them moving forward for a little amount of money, you use that as leverage, saying like, hey, we've added this much value to your business, we'd like to renegotiate, right? But just make sure that you can protect whatever it is that you're installing in their business, because if they keep it, if they kick you out, like that's an issue that we have. Whenever business owners see like, oh, you guys might be spending, I don't know, call it like 12 to 20 hours a month actually doing work for us, but you're getting this result, we don't feel like we should pay you as much, right? But it's how we do it that generates the result. And if the system that you're implementing is the thing that is responsible for getting them a result, and you can measure exactly how large that result is, I would set the tone up front saying, like we have a small fixed hard cost every month with us. Your variable costs are going to be your ads. And then after your trial, we'd like to implement a performance policy, right? Or something like that. You say that up front so it's not blindsiding to them down the road. And if you can get them to agree to it to where it's like maybe after the first 3 months or something like that, then do it, because they need to see the value in it first before they even see why you would ask for that in the first place. Does that make sense? That's
Makes
also
sense.
how you're going to scale your revenues like crazy, because you get, say 10 big clients that are spending, even call it $1,000 a day on ads each, right? $10,000 a day on ads times 30 is $300,000 a month on ads. And if you are on average getting, I don't know, call it a 4x ROAS, right? You're making $1.2 million a month across all your clients, and you get 1% of that. It's a lot more money, right? It's better to have your income be scalable with your output by comparison to fixed with a variable outcome for them, especially if it's a hyper positive.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. And then when it comes to targeting, you mentioned that you have a very specific interest-based targeting strategy. Okay. I'm assuming that since then, like Facebook has introduced a lot of new features, one of them being smart campaigns, where the smart campaign basically just optimizes, even if it's broad, like it knows that it needs to target law firms or accountants. Okay. In this day and age, do you still recommend manually putting in interests or just going broad and the Facebook will do its magic?
It depends on how much money you're willing to waste
Hmm.
before you actually get the result you want. The way that I would tell you to look at interest targeting, and I personally don't like any of the AI optimizations that Facebook offers, never really been about it. A lot of times I get questions from clients like, oh, why is the creative altered? Or why does the copy say this whenever this is the copy we agreed on, so on and so forth. And in all reality, I have never seen it actually improve performance in a meaningful way, because if you legitimately know, like the back of your hand, what your target audience looks like, sounds like, pays attention to, so on and so forth, there's no reason to use those optimizations personally. That's my opinion. Don't take my
Hmm.
word as gospel, but that's my experience. The flip
Hmm.
side of that is that sure, it might help you test stuff if you don't have good ideas from the jump, but those
Hmm.
AI optimizations are really geared towards cutting out people who know what they're doing. Because here's the deal, right? Facebook looks at someone spending money on ads, right? And they want to make sure they keep spending money. So as it's been historically, people, business owners, marketing departments, whatever, have marketing budgets, and they're spending a lot of money on ads, but they also have the people that are pulling those levers for them, right? And that's generally their biggest expense.
Hmm.
So whenever people have Chat GPT and they also have AI suggestions from Google or Facebook, or Klaviyo now has copywriting AI that can help write your emails for you and stuff like that. That's all well and good, but people are going to see like, oh, I made like $500 on this one email that AI did 3 things for me, or
Hmm.
they can pay someone to do it, and oh, that email made me $25,000. I think the most we've ever made off of one email marketing campaign that we sent was
Hmm.
$87,000.
Okay.
And it was a
Okay.
plain text email that I wrote. I've never had that kind of result whenever AI wrote emails. I've had it generate $6,000, $10,000, $12,000, but never astronomical returns. So use AI sparingly in the event that you're
Hmm.
having difficulty coming up with something to start with, right?
Hmm.
But don't let it be the thing that does all the work, because it's very good if you want it to be subjective. It's not always the best at being objective, right? And whenever
Hmm.
you have to present it with facts and things to get its story straight, just spend the time becoming a better writer. Spend the time getting better at identifying what makes a good creative or not. Spend time figuring out what offers people actually want versus don't. So I guess I say all of this to get to the point of AI is a helpful tool, to optimize. I would not use it as the thing to create everything around.
Mhm. Okay, cool. And then third question, which is basically pretty obvious, is should I even be running ads at this point? Because the point is, I've been doing cold calls, doing my cold emails, etc. I'm at that brink where I want to run ads. I have the
Mhm.
income to do that, really. Okay. I have a few case studies because this is like not my first time doing marketing. This is a fresh agency I basically started because I wanted to do something a bit different. I worked at a few marketing agencies, and worked with huge accounts making like 300K a month, etc. Right?
Mhm.
So I have the case studies there, okay, that I can leverage my experience with. It's just a case of like, at what point does it actually make sense to even get into ads?
So are you asking about running ads for yourself to acquire new business?
Correct.
Okay. So the first thing that I would do is get your organic strategy sorted out first. Of course,
Hmm.
ads are great. And again, I say this to you from my personal experience and what I'm actively doing right now.
Hmm.
People are incredibly skeptical, especially when they do not have a high volume of resources that they're at least used to, right? Think about this. Over the last 4 years, the economy has gotten progressively worse and worse and worse, especially like in the last 12 months, right?
Hmm.
So as resources diminish on a personal level or on a corporate level, people have to make harder choices. And usually those choices are firing people so that they can continue to operate, or because their workload has become so diminished that they don't need that
Hmm.
much in the way of personnel or output. Also, budget cuts where they can stomach it. And usually marketing is the first thing to go, right? They don't want to spend money if they feel like there's not customers in their space. However, what a lot of people will do, consumers, business owners, whatever, they were going to want to see reviews. And beyond reviews now, the one thing I've been finding makes a huge difference beyond case studies, reviews, so on and so forth, is time in industry. The reason
Hmm.
being, someone would rather take a shot on someone who has 5 to 10 years of experience and has some pretty solid case studies by comparison to someone who's been at it for a month and has one case study that's 30 days long. And that's why I hang
Hmm.
our hat on our retention numbers. Now, even this year's been pretty tumultuous, not going to lie.
Hmm.
But before the start of this year, our average retention rate was between 2.5 and 3.5 years per client.
Hmm.
Very few agencies have the ability to say that, and very, very few of them have proof the way we do. So,
Hmm.
that being said, you want to look at people who you can build a future with, and it almost feels like more job hunting, for lack of a better way to put it. But you do want to go into these conversations with people showing that you're in it for the long haul and that you're not here to get a check one day, not do anything, and then they're like, okay, well, we'll get someone else. You know what I mean? And I said that in my interview with Jordan in February of 2020. I think this space has the lowest barrier to entry possible. If you want to actually be something in this industry and turn it around, you have to show people how committed you are. So that is the thing I would tell you most. And having a track record over a long period of time shows that better than anything else. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you so much. So I'll definitely focus on the organic side first, get that right. Okay, so I can have that leverage of showing people that actually have experience in the space and then actually
Right.
move towards ads, right? And then, so my niche specifically that I'm targeting, I used to work with growth operators a while back, okay, but
Mhm.
as you just mentioned, it this is for the sole reason where I switched to service-based is because service-based is really never going to actually go away, okay? Like
Right.
everyone's going to use a law firm, everyone's going to use a med spa, are very lead dependent. So I just decided to pivot there moving forward, right?
Okay.
I have like three offers that I'm kind of deciding. I'm still testing these. Okay. So the first one is like a flat retainer per month to basically run their ads, okay, and do AI
Mhm.
lead gen for them. Okay. The second one that I'm actually pondering over is I feel like this will get a higher close rate is we just charge an upfront amount of let's say $2,000. We get the content done, the editing done, we get the ads live, and after that we only charge 10% profit of each month of what they're making. So if
Wouldn't
I'm
do
really
profit.
confident,
I wouldn't do profit. Reason being, they'll find any which thing that they can to throw in there that's like not marketing related. I've had that issue with people who paid performance in the past where it's like, okay, well, instead of gross, we want to move to profit. And then as soon as I ask them, okay, what profit in terms of what? What we're spending on paid ads, like our actual ad spend versus the revenue, or what? Like, well, no, your cost, the ad cost, software costs, oversight, hour time, like it just becomes more and more reason for them to not want to pay it at the end of the day. And you need to stand your ground firm with that. So I would say smaller percentage, but have it off of gross, and I would have it only be off of tracked revenue. So like, for instance, there was a client of ours that did like $58,000 in Facebook ad revenue last month. They made a total gross revenue on their Shopify store of about 71,000. So
Mhm.
I have enough evidence to say, hey, we're driving the bulk of your revenue right now, at least online, right? And we're doing this at a 4.6x return, which is fantastic. So, anything above a 2x is payable. Anything under a 2x return isn't, because if we can at least break even on the cost of the product and the ad spend, we really aren't entitled to anything. But when it's above that 2x mark, 7.5% of your revenue goes to us. That's the reality. Because they have profit left over, there's still profit from the ads, there's still profit on the organic sales that they make. But we're responsible for the bulk of the sales. And that's the thing that you need to drive into the heads of these business owners or the people who are running these offices, whatever. Because ultimately, what they need to understand is that you're bringing them the opportunity to do their job
Mhm.
and do it well. Not this type of stuff never works for businesses with bad reputation. So
Mhm.
what I will tell you is this too: be mindful of who you get in bed with, because a lot of business owners right now are in spots where, hey, I have to make tough choices and I need to make more money. So the
Mhm.
easiest thing to do is get people on, take their shit, and leave, right? That's the reality of it. So you have to protect yourself. Really, really need to do that. And having gone through that experience myself quite a lot this year so far, I cannot emphasize that point enough. You have to be very good about measuring the character of the people that you do business with. Otherwise, you're going to do your job and you're still going to be left high and dry. And that's what happens often at times with younger business owners. If I had to guess, you're probably what, 22?
20.
Okay, so you're 20, right? If you're soliciting a 44-year-old who does garage door installations, right? What incentive does he have to take you seriously? Legitimately speaking.
Makes sense.
So stand your ground. That's all I can really reinforce to you. I mean, I dealt with that my entire life. I don't know if you watched that interview I did with Jordan a long, long time ago, but one of the things I had to do whenever I was in high school trying to get business was get a voice changer to cold call with so that people would take me more seriously. So, do what you have to do, but, show people that you mean business, because the single biggest thing that sucks for young business owners is that you get walked over a lot, and no one will ever tell you that.
Okay, makes sense. One question I do have there is, so retrospectively evaluating, like between the two offers, would you just
Mhm.
go for a retainer, or would you go for that upfront cost followed by like a monthly percentage of the way you described it? Because the feeling that I get is that if I go for the factor that, just an upfront cost and then a monthly percentage, I think what happens there is it's just they just feel a bit more risk free on their end, and we just basically tell them that this is just a setup fee that we're charging, and in addition to that, we're forced to get better results for them. And then lastly, it has a higher close rate. So would you aim for that offer specifically?
I would tell them, I like that second one better. Don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
I would take it a step further, make it refusal proof.
Okay.
And I would tell them, you don't pay till it's implemented.
So you basically just don't charge them anything upfront.
Don't charge them anything up front. Don't pay until it's implemented. Once the system is implemented, right? So if you're using Go High Level or something like that, right? You have probably an agency account if you're creating them sub accounts, whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of that, you already absorbed that hard cost. Yeah, it's nice to have other people cover it. Don't get me wrong, but point being is that you get a lot of value from doing two things. Okay, this is something we started doing with anything that we use Go High Level for. We make them make their own account, but we
Hmm.
make the account and we use their card info. So we become an admin, use their email, we use their credentials, but we do it under our referral link.
Hmm.
So we use the affiliate link that we have for ourselves to give to our clients, and we
Hmm.
get them signed up. So in the event that they try and take anything, they can't. And in the event that
Hmm.
we part ways for whatever reason, we're still getting a rip on the affiliate uh, link that they had used. And again, it ends up being for like the basic program, like 38.70 a month or something. per referral. So that's nice little side money. So, maybe look at it that way, get 10 people on and then use that as a starter budget to get people onto the same program. I'm just trying to reinforce maybe some ways that you can maximize the opportunity here, especially if you aren't going to ask for something up front like I'd suggested. Of course, do what you want. I'm not going to be the person to tell you you have to follow every word I say to the letter. But people will more readily opt in to what you have to offer if there is nothing paid until it's installed. And the reason I say that, we live in the time where everything is pay to play, but also people want to see some sort of try before you buy component, right? So if you get it installed and say, hey, you don't pay till your first lead, or you don't pay us until your first lead comes through the door, awesome. What risk does anybody have with that, at least as a business owner, right? So you're going to get a ton of information, and then you say like, hey, via your email list or whatever you want to do, we're closing this opportunity after the next 2 people opt in because we're already at a backlog. So if you don't want to pay up front, now's the time to get rolling, right? So you can create a better sense of urgency and things like that with an offer this good, because there's nothing saying that it has to be long term. It's just for you to get your feet wet, start getting some more immediate win case studies so that you can make your life easier when it comes to actually charging something up front. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Of course.
One last question, because I know you're busy. In terms of outreach strategies, like ads aside, one strategy you did mention there is actually just run awareness ads and then cold email them after that. I think you mentioned that in the masterclass, right? Specifically. Specifically. Apart from that, like cold calling, like is there a new strategy that you see in the market that's very underutilized at this point, which would be recommended to get into to actually be the first one to use it? Is there something that you're seeing that I should be aware of?
I think it's familiarity bias more than anything. So whether it's you're communicating with your prospects via an email list or YouTube or social content that you post on like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, what have you, right? Those are the avenues that you have to be consistent with for people to believe you're going to be consistent when they're paying. That's one of my biggest pitfalls at the moment right now that I'm trying to work through, like I mentioned before with YouTube. But beyond that, my social media is more for me than it is for work, especially because I'm in so many different lines of work. It's hard to have me isolated to just marketing. So taking that into consideration, one thing I would personally do differently, and I suggest this to you, not necessarily knowing what your social media currently looks like, but I would just
private. It's not the best. It's not the best.
So then I would start scratch with a new account and I would start doing day in the life stuff. So like today we're helping this business owner do this. We're implementing this for another client. Got a couple sales calls, and you just kind of run through your day, right? People want to see that kind of transparency. I'm at a point in my life where I don't want that personally, so I'm not changing anything that I'm doing, but I am making my more public facing social medias, especially YouTube, very business centric. I don't really do a whole lot in the way of like lifestyle stuff, for lack of a better way to put it.
Makes sense. Okay, cool. Stefan, I really appreciate your time today. It's been really, really helpful. And hopefully 6 months from now, we're going to be at a better space. I just feel like the agency thing is like just more long term. Okay, like I'm personally not expecting any big results within the next 3 months, but hopefully over the course of 1 year, we're at a place where we're making decent money, but at the same time, we have those case studies and results behind us. But yeah, really appreciate that. I'll send you the Fathom after this call. Do you mind if I post this call on my socials or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Whatever you want to do. More than happy to share it on mine as well, like I'd mentioned, and post the actual video itself to YouTube if you'd find that helpful.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. You have a great day.
You too, Mustafa. Have a blessed one.